Hey everyone, I'm Chris, horror filmmaker and former Nerf god, here to revisit one of my most popular series that I ever did, Nerf Arena. Recently I've been revisiting my Nerf videos with the tier list ranking videos, but those go on for a very long time and there's a lot of videos to talk about that I don't actually get to go in depth on the behind the scenes process and my real opinion about the video. Not only do I want to just revisit the videos for fun and to give behind the scenes fun facts, but also to really show how a young filmmaker from the ripe old age of 12 years old began making Nerf videos on YouTube, and now over a decade later is 24 years old making films like legit. And Nerf Arena was a big milestone in my filmmaking career, especially with choreography. I had always loved sword fights ever since I was a little kid. I've loved watching the Star Wars prequels with all of the lightsaber fights, and I played around with doing sword fight choreography early on in Alan Todd. I had sports swords. I used to practice Taekwondo, and we had these things called sports swords where you could spar and hit each other and it wouldn't hurt. But I never really choreographed a full-on fight scene. With Nerf, they only had guns for so long until suddenly they started doing melee weapons, and I was like, oh, it's time, I want to do one. Now, instead of using melee weapons in the Nerf wars, I decided I wanted it to be its own series. I wanted to dedicate an entire video to just a sword fight, but I didn't quite know what to call it because Nerf war made sense because it's a war and you have fight wars with guns, but okay, Nerf battle, no, that doesn't work. And then I was looking on YouTube what people did, and I couldn't really find anything else about sword fights. And then I thought, okay, well, what if it's like a gladiator arena, you know? Or I loved going to medieval times when I was a kid, watching the knights fight in the arena. It's a sword fight, so all right, Nerf Arena. Now, I have a lot to say about these videos, and I began my analysis rewatching the videos and just writing down everything I could think of, and I realized I have so much to talk about that I would rather break this up. I want to talk about the first two Nerf Arenas, the early ones, where I was really kind of figuring out whatever the series was even going to be and how I wanted to do it, and then I can do another video talking about the later ones. And honestly, Nerf Arena the Four Seasons might as well just be its own video because that's such a huge epic finale and my favorite Nerf video I ever did. So that one's gonna need the most time. I know most of the people who are watching this video probably clicked on it because they remember me from Nerf. And if you haven't watched any of my recent videos, welcome back. But also, if you happen to be new and you don't know who I am, or you're just curious about young filmmaker becomes an adult and all of that, this is a great place to see that. My entire channel is an archive of a filmmaker's journey, something that honestly I don't know if you can find anywhere else, especially in previous years. Like, this is a very current, you know, social media, YouTube age thing that you can see. And I think it's fun and unique to then dive into it over a decade later in as much in-depth analysis and memory that I have of it as I possibly can. So let's begin. Nerf Arena Summer. Obviously, it wasn't called Summer back in the day. It was originally called Nerf Arena, the sword versus axe, warlock. I don't know. It was the name of the weapons. Originally, the idea was that it would be about the different weapons. So it was like, oh, the axe was the better weapon to use. But that idea in hindsight never really made sense because it's usually about the fighters. And then if the weapons are imbalanced, then shouldn't you just pick the same weapons? But I wanted to have different weapons just so, you know, it'd be different. I was really excited to do a sword fight because with gun fights, it's harder to choreograph. You know, when you're shooting with guns and all of that, the general gist is that, you know, you get shot in the head, you lose, which that rule wasn't applied until later, but, you know, I ended up applying it. But yeah, you can really only take like one or two hits to your body or limbs until you like can't move anymore, and it's just unrealistic for you to keep going. And even though most of my Nerf wars weren't realistic whatsoever, and they were all over the place with the realism, with the sword fights I was able to be a little bit more realistic with the wounds that the fighters are sustaining and be able to keep going and have fun, exciting action before eventually one of them dies. The arena itself was just a parking spot next to my house that just came with the house, and it had a little basketball hoop, which was cute. I never really used it. But we usually had cars parked there, but then every now and then, you know, all the adults would be gone, all the cars would be out of the way, and we would just have this open arena, and Camden and I used to play there all the time. So I immediately knew that, all right, that's the arena. We'll just fight in that little square spot. Going into the filming of Nerf Arena Summer, I wanted an intro to show the players, you know, like it's this, you know, match and it's this fun thing that all of us are watching, like we're an audience, and it's like, ooh, this person with this weapon, dun dun dun, it's gonna be fun. And I didn't want to include like plot or any other things to distract from it. I literally just wanted quick videos of a fight scene because That's what I liked when I was a kid. This was also the first time that I had someone other than one of us, or mainly my mom and dad, filming the video. I had Toby Bell. He was a student at my mom's middle school where she used to teach, and I think he did like camera work or something like that, and he was always interested in, you know, filming videos and stuff. So it was just a perfect mix of, all right, come on down and film us doing this sword fight. And that helped a lot because I always would have to explain the shots that I wanted from my mom and dad because I usually was on camera, so I couldn't film it myself. And I always had really wacky angles in mind that just if you don't really know what I'm talking about, then you're like, okay, wait, what do you want me to do? But it made sense in my head. Toby kind of understood what I was going for, though. I remember communicating my shot ideas to him. He was able to kind of get it. He understood like these fast sweeping action shots and, you know, how to frame things. But yeah, it was fun to have someone new filming. Overall, choreographing this fight was really fun. We did all of it on the spot. It was pretty much all improvised. I think for the most part, I came up with the choreography, and I just kind of thought, all right, well, what would the fighters do next? Okay, you get kicked, and then I would probably go for this, and then you would block here, and we just kind of kept doing that over and over again, and it was time consuming. I remember filming this took a little bit of time, and then when I was editing it, I realized, oh wow, this video is not even going to be 2 minutes long. That's crazy. But we just kind of kept going until eventually it was like, all right, let's kind of reach this natural conclusion. The axe slow-mo dodge, where Camden ducks and I slice and it's slow-mo, we had to film that over and over again. I kind of was just in, you know, Toby was filming, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep doing it over and over again until we kind of get a good one, because Camden kept anticipating it because he was nervous of actually getting hit. So it was like, all right, just kind of keep doing it over and over again, so that way we get as close to the head as possible with the slice. And in the bloopers video, you'll see that actually there was one time where I hit it too early and just straight up yacked him in the face. Ow! Luckily, he was all right. We tried to do the whole stabbing the sword through the hole on the axe thing. That could not work at all because the hole was too small. So we just kind of did it, you know, all right, suddenly cut to, it looks like it happened, but it looks sloppy. I wouldn't have included that now. And then the next slice was really fun because, oh, ketchup, that's a classic thing used for blood, right? And I was like, well, actually, I guess it would work if you could just put it in your mouth and just kind of spit it out, so that way it looks like the neck is being sliced open. And Camden really didn't want to do it because, ew, ketchup in your mouth, which honestly is not fun. Like, everyone, you know, eats a hot dog or a burger at some point in their life, eating fries with ketchup. Sure, ketchup is great, but on its own, ketchup, yeah, it just, and yeah, Camden didn't like that. But the shot ended up paying off. It looks really good even to this day. For editing, I needed to collect a bunch of sword sounds, and for the most part, they actually came with this album that I found on iTunes that was for fist fighting, a bunch of fist fight sound effects, and it just included a few sword and stabbing sounds and whooshes. So I just kind of used those, and I honestly only had like 4 or 5 to work with, and I just kind of repeated them over and over and over again. I didn't bother trying to find new ones, which is pretty silly, but yeah, I just kind of kept reusing them over and over again, and every now and then would sometimes mix them up where there's like 2 on top of each other, or I would like lower the pitch of one. I forget if I did that a lot in summer. I might have done that a little bit later on. I tried to do as much as I could with very limited sword sounds. And what's funny is some of the hits that we would take, I actually just used punching sounds. There's one, in fact, where Camden slices me, and it should be a slice, but instead the sound effect is like a boom. So it's almost like he hit me with the flat side of the sword, flat side of a sword, but you know, it's okay. Also the beginning whoosh sounds with the yeah, that's me. That's not an actual whoosh, that's just me making noises, and I did that a lot in videos. I would just make sound effects because I do that. I did use music from the Bourne series. I forget which Bourne movie, it might be Ultimatum, but yeah, I used that music, and that of course has copyright, and 12, 13-year-old me didn't know that, so yeah, I've never been able to monetize this video, unfortunately. But what I do remember is editing it was really fun. I remember just like wanting to make it as fast-paced as possible, and I just loved rewatching it. Every, you know, few seconds that I got in, I would just rewatch it like, oh, this is so much fun, and that was a good feeling to be editing something and then want to keep watching it over and over again. Like, it was exactly what I always wanted, because when I was really young, I would skip all the talking scenes and the drama of any movie. I would just get to the fight scenes. I just wanted to watch the fight scenes over and over and over again, and that's what Nerf Arena Summer is. It is a fight scene, and that's it. There's no BS, and that's exactly what I wanted. Now looking at the video and watching it, the choreography is actually really fun. I think we did a really good job of coming up with fun, realistic choreography that keeps the pace going and is full of variety, because sometimes we did have to do the simple block, hit, where you're just kind of repeating that action over and over again. There's not a different like, oh, he slices from down and then you dodge it and then you punch or whatever. Like, you know, the more different moves we had to do, the more memorization there was, the more different camera angles there were. And sometimes it was just easy to do simple bing, 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 bing. And the thing is with that, I was also able to repeat those shots. Sometimes I would take, in real life, we would do maybe 2 block hits, but then in editing, I could repeat it. So then it was 4. And when you're watching it and it's 1 minute long and it's going by really fast, you don't even really notice it or really feel like it's filler for the most part. And I think it kind of works. It looks like that's how it would go. Now, the thing with the pacing, we wanted to have a slow part before the final like hurrah. And unfortunately, that moment just kind of happened right after the slow-mo, which was when the pacing slowed down. And I also used a heartbeat because I wanted to, and heartbeat sound effects always are fun. But yeah, I used that back to back really quickly. And I would not have done that now. I'm not sure why I kept that. I just kind of felt like I wanted it. And I guess there was that moment where like Camden gets hit. And so then we like stand there for a second like, oh, we're really beat up. All right, let's finish this. But it doesn't work as well now. I think it just kind of interrupts the pacing too much, and just get rid of it. And also something that I do remember being kind of criticized was at the end when I pick up the sword with my hand to cut Camden's throat. I think the reason I wanted to do that is just because it was more hardcore, and that way I could like get it up close to his neck. And sure, maybe gripping a sword like that would, you know, probably hurt and cut your hand, but also no one would be able to actually pick up a sword like that for the most part, because the heavy part is the handle. That's the whole point of the balance of the sword. So yeah, I don't know. It's all right. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But really, just overall, I like Nerf Arena Summer. I think it's a solid video, especially for the time, 2010. This is before Nerf War Infiltration, before Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse. This is before a lot of bigger videos where things got a little bit more legit. And this is just a nice, simple fight and really well done. I really enjoy it. And I immediately knew that I wanted to do more Nerf Arenas, but I knew that Nerf Wars were the popular thing, and I also was doing the Zombie Apocalypse. So, all right, I guess Nerf Arena will be shelved, but it's a series that I'll continue again at some point. Fast forward a year later, and it was time to film the next one because that would be fun. And also, I remember there was this self-awareness that we were growing up rapidly because puberty was hitting, and I knew that that was cool to witness, like seeing us actually grow up. So I wanted to kind of capture that. So after a year, it was like, all right, it's time to do another one. Let's go. Now, because of that, it was filmed in August, I think, probably August. It was uploaded in August. And so yeah, technically Nerf Arena Spring takes place during the summer. But the reason I call it spring is because, of course, later on, after filming Nerf Arena Winter, I realized that I wanted it to be a seasons-based thing, so that was the vibe. And Nerf Arena Spring, it was rain. So, all right, that's the rainy season. That makes sense, sure. And then it goes summer, spring, winter, autumn. It goes backwards. Oh, that's cute. What I also remember when we went into filming Nerf Arena Spring was that Nerf was releasing a lot more melee weapons back then, and I think the Stonewall Shield was actually the newest one, so I wanted to have a newer one in there. I was always trying to have new Nerf, you know, products or whatever. I mean, they weren't products to me, they were toys, but I wanted to have new Nerf stuff in my videos to keep it variety, and you know, that way people would comment like, oh, he got the new one, and all of that. So yeah, that's why the Stonewall Shield is in there. Unfortunately, it is not the best weapon to use up against the Marauder Sword, and that does kind of mess with the video, but I'll get to that. The thing is though, so when we went to film this video, the popular story goes, it started to rain. And I don't think I'd ever filmed in the rain before. I had never thought it being a possibility. I had a waterproof camera that my parents bought me, this like Kodak, like waterproof flat thing or whatever. And that was like my first digital camera, I think, because before then I was actually filming on tapes. So blast from the past. So yeah, this camera was new, and I think we used it for Nerf Arena Summer. And then with Spring, I wanted to actually use my other new camera, which was a Nikon D5100, which actually allowed you to manually adjust focus, which of course I didn't know about back then because I was stupid and young. But I wanted to use it, and then it started to rain. I was like, oh, well, we can't film it. But wait, I have the waterproof camera. All right, let's do it. Why not? And it led to the biggest happy little accident of all time, because that day, whoo boy, it rained. At first it was just kind of regularly raining and we got like a little bit wet, and so the first portion was filmed all in one go, and my mom actually filmed it. I think my dad just wasn't home. Usually my dad would do the filming, but yeah, this time around my mom, she was a champ. She was like, all right, I guess we'll just film in the rain, sure. And it's Maryland, you know, it rains there all the time, so it was nothing new. Something kind of cute that I actually noticed rewatching this is that in the beginning, on purpose, we would switch sides every time, so that way it was different, you know? I thought that was cute. But yeah, so the choreography, yes, it does suffer because of the weapon choices that we have and the fact that it was raining. We didn't have time to really think up this choreography on the spot. Thinking of choreography was difficult because how is Camden really supposed to go up against me? I have this big ass sword and he has a shield and then a little dagger knife thing. Like, how's this gonna work? So that was always tricky to do. And then he got the rain and then he got the time, and it's like, okay, I sometimes we'll just kind of improvise it. So most of the choreographed bits are in the first half before it really started raining and it was getting dark and we were running out of time. Also, while we were filming, I noticed that the rain was kind of pouring out of the drain spout on the side of the house right on the wall there, and I thought that was kind of cool. So I didn't know what I was going to use it for, but I just decided to film it, and then every now and then I would notice, oh, there's more rain coming out of it, I'll film it again, and that ended up being a fun little motif to add to the video, to add to the tone of it. You know, it builds up, it's more rain, more wet as the fight is reaching its peak. Ooh, art. And so the thing is, we filmed all of that beginning stuff in one go, and then we took a break because we needed one, and during that break was when it started pouring. I'm not kidding, this is one of the heaviest downpours I've ever witnessed in my life, and we decided to go out there and finish this video, and we were all soaked. Every single millimeter of our bodies were covered in rain and wet clothes. It was crazy. But that was also the fun of it, was like, oh my god, we're filming in this hardcore rain, like we can't even see what we're doing half the time. All right, just kind of film it, do this and and it's fun. I think it really works well. So then the choreography kind of turns into just improv for the most part, of just like, okay, ding, ding, boom, all right, and that's it. And we just kind of knew like, all right, we'll do this a few times and then I'll knock your knife out of your hand and then you'll knock my sword out of my hand and all of that. And for filming it, I literally just kind of told my mom, just kind of keep 316, you know, just kind of film us. I'm trying to remember, but for the most part, I had shots in mind for a lot of my old Nerf videos where, like, you know, especially Nerf 4 Candy Bar, I think the best shot in that video is this close-up shot that's right on the side of the long shot, and it kind of shows my face on the side there. That one's really cool. But for the most part, I think I would just kind of tell my parents to just kind of film this, especially with the sword fights. It is just kind of, all right, just kind of keep moving, keep filming, try and keep things in frame, and you know that. So with this particular portion, it was like, just do a 360, just keep walking fully around us and we won't hit you. And we just kind of kept filming the same actions over and over again, and just like before in editing, I repeated it over and over and over again. And in my opinion, this time around it goes on too long, and it is kind of obvious that it is just the same actions being repeated over and over again. And it also just isn't realistic that I would be not winning instantly with this big sword, especially once I knock Camden's knife out of his hand. How have I not won? But yeah, so then the fight ends, and then I knew that we would film the ending on a different day when it isn't raining, because the rain became a whole theme with the video, so then maybe it ends without the rain. And that was all just a happy accident. Literally, the rain decided to start pouring more, so I was like, okay, all right, so then the ending can be when it's not raining, sure. So we filmed that on a different day, and we actually hosed ourselves down, so that way it looked like it was still the same day. And we also did that with the spout as well, so that way we got that little drip, drip, drip. And then the ending, actually, my dad must have filmed it. I didn't remember it, but in the end credits, it says my mom and dad filmed this, so I knew my mom was in the rain, so I think my dad probably filmed this ending bit. And then the kid who shows up to kill me, Jonathan, was a kid that I used to babysit with my grandma way back in the day, and so he was over every now and then, a lot of week days, school days, you know, he would be there, and so every now and then he was in some videos, and this was one where I was like, oh, it'd be kind of funny if it just like ends with this sudden twist that someone else shows up to end the fight. Because also with deciding who would win these fights, like, I try to be as fair as possible with all of my Nerf videos. Like, I didn't want to be the one winning all the time, and I think I would allow myself to take the most abuse. Like, I would, you know, be the one getting shot in the head most of the time and falling down and all that stuff. Like, I really didn't want to be a dictator director, you know, directator, a dictator. Yeah, I wanted things to be fair, but then this time around I thought, okay, let's vary it up a bit, because I think people are expecting Camden to win, and also Camden shouldn't win because of the weapon choice. So maybe I win, but then we have this twist where then someone else actually just shows up to kill both of us, because it's comedy and it's funny, and sure, yeah, so that's what we went with. And the ending line, so what that line, swords, is meant to be is that, you know, Jonathan is supposed to be joking that sword fights are silly, just bring a gun because a gun will win, and so that's what the line was for. I don't think it was delivered properly, but you know, I don't hold it against him. He was like 9 years old or whatever, so it's fine. It's still a funny ending no matter what. So going through this video now, just watching it, I do think that a lot of the reused sparring shots are iffy. That's sort of what drags this video down a bit for me. And also the pacing kind of is a little slower than Nerf Arena Summer, and the choreography itself, we're kind of performing it in like a dancey way, where it doesn't quite feel as punchy and, you know, hardcore as it was in Summer. I think there's also like these weird occasional bumps in the audio, which I'm pretty sure was the raindrops hitting the camera, which was where the microphone was. Which is also why at the end, I don't use the audio whatsoever, because I'm pretty sure the audio was just rain over and over and over again, so it was useless. And also the music was cool, so whatever. But my goal with the video was to not be too cutty with the fight scenes themselves. I wanted it to be followable, you know, like it's logical that these characters would kind of make this sort of move, and then, you know, you're able to kind of follow it, because that is a common problem with a lot of fight scenes in movies, especially American movies with swords, where it is just and like it's you can't even tell what's going on. And especially with fist fight scenes, the camera's just shaky everywhere. So I didn't want that with this. I kind of wanted it to look like we were actually fighting, but in hindsight, this one does feel a little too over choreographed, and we're not really committing to these hits. I also wanted to point out the back block is inspired by Anakin. I always liked that move, so I wanted to include it somewhere, and I did. And I love the sword spin move, where I decided to change up my style. I don't really know why I wanted to change up the style. I just kind of thought it would be cool, but yeah, I kind of performed that move pretty smoothly. It's nice. And I guess it's like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna smash through this shield. I'm gonna break it, so I'll use like both my hands like this. Sure, it's fun. And of course we had another slow-mo part, so gotta include that. We actually did it slowed down, where he was just actually moving the knife like this, and then I sped it up a bit in post, because that's easier to speed up a slow-mo bit than the opposite because of frame rate. So say you're shooting with 24 frames per second, if you decide to slow that down, well, now you have 12 frames a second, 10 frames a second, and that looks choppy and doesn't work as well. So it made more sense to film it with the slower speed and then speed it up later. I also decided to add a little thunder lightning moment with the back break. You know, play it twice and it's like oh, because also then the storm will be coming soon. So I like that. My other criticism with this video and you know, the early Nerf Arenas is that we're not really showing our tiredness throughout the fight, where like we're taking hits and, you know, oh, I take a hit here, so then I immediately counterattack. The counterattack should feel more like a quick defense, like, oh, I just got hit, okay, or whatever. And with this, it does just kind of feel more like, okay, now you do this, now you do that, you get stabbed, and then you do this. And it's not quite as, it doesn't feel real, I guess. So I'd have liked to kind of feel the ebb and flow of the fight a bit more. And yeah, the pause in the middle where it cuts to black is far too long. I think when I was editing it, I felt like it needed to be a little longer than it should be, but I didn't think it was too long, because I just kind of felt like this is such an epic moment and people have no idea what they're in for with these shots, dude. But watching the actual full video, just, you know, fully removed from it, it does just slow down like too much. It should have just gone up. And what's cool, I noticed the music actually ends right there when it cuts to black. That's the full song, the Born music that I used for the first two Nerf Arenas. So then for the last portion, I actually pitched it up, which was a nice little trick I could do with a lot of music. I did in Spartan Super Soldier a lot, where it's like, okay, I've kind of used up the music for the most part, but the fight scene isn't over. What can I do? Oh, increase the pitch, because every pop song ever will do that. They'll decide to change the key, so that way it's like the same thing, but oh, it's a little different, and higher sounds bigger. Whoa, it's a bigger deal. And you know, so that's what I did, and I think it actually does work really well. And yeah, these standing shots, dude, this standing in the rain, definitely my favorite part of Nerf Arena Spring. Just so epic. It's so epic, and I think the reason it works so well, not only it's pouring down rain, so you know anyone looks cool in pouring rain, but it was the fact that I never focused on location or lighting way back then. I didn't really think about that. And I didn't really think about cool shots that didn't have to do with the fights themselves, like characters just standing. Like I didn't really think too much about that. Everything was usually just like about the action. But this time around, it was like, no, we look cool in the rain. Let's have this moment where we're just standing in this pouring down rain. And though I didn't color it whatsoever, all of the shots in this video end up being that kind of greenish cyan tint. And that was because of not only the rain and, you know, the darkness and all that, but also that waterproof camera for some reason slowly developed a green tint to it. And it must have been a white balance problem or something that I don't know if could have been fixed or not. If it could have been fixed, I never bothered with it because I didn't even know what white balance was back then, because I was 13. And that's also why Nerf 4 Vengeance has that weird green tint, and a couple other videos that were filmed later on. If there's usually this weird green tint to the video, that means that it was filmed with that waterproof camera. And then yeah, there's a lot of reusing shots in this last bit, and I tried to make it easy to follow and not obvious that it is just I run up and do 2 hits and then get hit back, then I run up and it's kind of obvious now watching it where it's like, okay, it's just being repeated, let's just get to the point. And then I wanted to have a cool little ending where it's like, okay, the swords are no longer the deal, now it's actually this shield is the main thing that we're fighting over, and it would be kind of cool. And I think it worked really well. I really like these ending shots where it's 360 around us and it's cutting in closer and closer as it gets more intense. And then also with when I push him down, I replay that shot of the poof because I just liked all the different takes that we did. And also with big moments, sometimes they will repeat things like that. So, okay. But, you know, I wanted to repeat it, and it works, it works. I also always love how Camden's shoe falls off in that quick little shot where he falls down. And something I noticed, the stab, when I get stabbed in the back, that low shot, I should be able to see the blade, right? Like we, the audience, should be able to see that blade sticking right through my stomach, but we don't. So I probably should have zoomed in a bit more, but I don't know, I liked that low shot. And also I think that side shot looks really good with, because of course the sword isn't actually through me, so it's just right next to me on the side here, but then the camera's over here, so that way you can't tell. And you know, that's how every movie ever has done it. And yeah, technically there should be blood, but we didn't bother with blood really back then. But honestly, the way the shot looks, like it kind of looks legit. It kind of looks like I got stabbed. And then with the falling down, because I knew that once I'm falling down, you'd be able to kind of tell that it's not through me. So I told my dad, I think it must have been my dad, to lower the camera as I'm falling. So it's like, and also we don't see it. And I think it works really nicely. That's a nice little effect that just kind of worked. And so yeah, Nerf Arena Spring, you know, it's definitely a step down in terms of the fights and the choreography of Nerf Arena Summer and also pacing, but it's superior not only the editing and some of the shots that we captured, but by far just the whole location and tone of the video. Like it is memorable, not because it was a sword fight, but because it was filmed in pouring down rain. And that's something I will always love. It led to the series actually having a theme to it. Before it was just going to be sword fights, but then, you know, after we did this one, I was like, okay, well now I want to do another one, but in like a different kind of weather. So, all right, I could do snow. What else could I do? Could I do like super windy maybe? What else is there? And of course, I didn't really think about it being seasonal until later. But we will get to those videos in due time. Until then, thank you very much for watching this video and seeing me explore my past work and hyper analyzing everything that I can remember and really just talking about how I've grown as a filmmaker and seeing where a lot of this began. I cannot wait someday to do an actual fight scene like this. I would love to do a sword fight. Action has always been a really fun genre for me. It's just there's a lot of rules with it in present day. As an adult, you got to follow all the different rules, and safety is very important. You can't get away with just using foam Nerf swords as kids in your backyard anymore. So yeah, fortunately, it will probably be a long time till I get to do those kind of sword fights, but I would love to do them. And that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Check out Artlist for the music used in this video, and of course check out my other videos, not only going over my past Nerf videos, but also going over horror movies or see my horror shorts. I got a lot of different content on here, so thank you for checking this out, and I will see you wherever you see me.